Georgian members of parliament have voted through a controversial foreign influence bill. So the new legislation passed after weeks of mass protests. Demonstrators fear that it could be used to curb dissent and stand in the way of Georgia one day joining the European Union. The new law will require organizations that get more than 20% of their funding from abroad to register with authorities. We have with us Dmitry Medvedenko, who's been covering the protests. Dmitry, you're joining us from Tbilisi. So now that this law has passed, Dmitry, set the scene for us. Tell us what's going on where you are.
Well, it's actually very intense right now because protesters who have been standing here all day were quite angry, obviously, at the result of this vote. And they came out here in front of the Parliament building. They were gathered at the back most of the day. And then they started bashing through the barricades, which were locking the front gates of Parliament, until riot police broke through those gates. I don't know if Joao can show you. There's around several hundred over there. They came out and they announced through megaphones that people should disperse or they will get tear gassed. So this is basically what's happening. There's more of them coming from the left side over there right now, pushing people through. There's water cannon. There's a truck over there on that left side of Rustaveli Avenue. So people are being pushed out. I don't know how long we will be able to continue this broadcast. We're going to have to move away now. Right. I have a gas mask on me. A lot of people do. They were charity organizations handing out those gas masks for free, basically, to people, expecting that this kind of development might happen. Yep. People are moving.
Dmitry, if you have to leave at any point, please.
Divisive law. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We're going to continue as much as we can, but people are moving. Let's move to the side street. Let's move to the side street, Joao. Over here.
So, Dmitry, what type of security and police presence are you seeing?
To join me. There's around several thousand policemen. They were guarding the side streets this morning so that members of parliament would be able to pass through into parliament. And for that vote, of course, where 84 voted for and 30 voted against. So basically 2-1.
And what are the protesters?
Have been mostly docile throughout the day. Yeah. One of the protesters. Please continue.
What are the protesters saying that they're going to do next? I mean, now that this law has passed, they've been out in the streets for many weeks. It's passed despite their fears and their concerns. So where to next?
Yeah, basically what's happening is next this bill, this law, before it becomes law officially, will go up for the presidential signature. So the president has promised that she would veto this law. She has up to 10 days to do that. I think we should keep moving further. Joao. Yep, we have to move now.
Okay.
So the president has around 10 days to veto this law, which she said she would do. Then it would come back into parliament. And then they hold another vote to override the veto. And of course, the ruling party, Georgian Dream, and their allies, Power of the People, they have 83 seats. So they need a simple majority to do that. Just calm down a little bit. I think I can continue for now.
All right, Dmitry, once again, I mean, if you have to leave at any point, please feel free to tell us and we'll let you go.
Yeah, no, it's all right, So we can continue. Let's continue as much as we can. This is important.
Go on.
To show what's going on, because around 2,000 police are pushing people away down Rustaveli Avenue. Are we still on?
Yes, you are. So I believe what we're looking at right now on our screens, Dmitry, is they might be be the riot police. Maybe you can confirm which sort of police forces are out on the streets right now, and what may happen next.
So basically, like, what's reassuring is that these policemen, they're wearing like simpler uniforms, not just riot gear, and they're not wearing respirators or gas masks, and therefore that's assuring us that they might not tear gas the area where many of them are located at this time. So, but well, I would say there's more than 1,000 of them here. So it's a very strong presence in order to disperse crowds. Like, these protests have been continuing for more than a month now. And of course, there were protests last year as well when government actually had to drop that controversial bill. But this time around, it passed through 3 readings and it was approved. So now all that's left is, again, that presidential signature. And apparently, the president can't really do much, even though there is a veto. But, you know, fulfill her promise of a veto. And then it goes back to parliament and they vote again. So people have been saying that they will continue gathering in the streets of central Tbilisi every day so far, until their voice is heard, until the government actually takes their opinion into consideration.
What kinds of what sort of numbers of people?
Because we don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. There's riot police over there with a truck over here. I think the tensions are building up quite.
All right, Dmitry, we'll let you go for now.
We'll let you go for now. See if we can update you next hour.
We'll let you go for now, and we'll be checking in with you a little later. Thank you so much for that update from Tbilisi. So that is the developing story, the live pictures from Tbilisi, where the bill has now been passed. It's being described by some as a foreign interference bill. We'll bring in Alex Scrivener, who's the executive director of the think tank, the Democratic Security Institute. Welcome to Al Jazeera. You're speaking to us from Tbilisi as well. So as we look at that live picture in front of Parliament, where our correspondent was saying things seem to be escalating between, I mean, the protesters are not happy now that this bill has passed. What's your reaction?
Well, I mean, saying the protesters are unhappy is an understatement. I mean, it's hard to overstate the existential importance that defeating this bill has for many people in Georgia. I mean, the cries of anger you're hearing on the streets from the young protesters is the cry of anger of an entire generation that feels betrayed by the government's decision to pass this legislation that's seen correctly as a first step towards authoritarian crackdown against civil society. Yeah. And yes, there is a lot of anger.
Yeah, I mean, the opponents certainly say that this bill is modeled on a Russian law that has been used to clamp down on dissent. But those who support it say the law is about transparency and preventing outside influence on Georgian politics.
I mean, very few people outside the government and people that they pay directly really believe it is about transparency. I mean, it's targeted very specifically at civil society sector. So sort of people who speak truth to power. You know, charity organisations, political advocacy groups, and so forth. And the entire sector in this country, there's almost not a single organisation in Georgia that doesn't get some funding from abroad. It's a very poor country. It's a very small country. So, you know, almost everyone gets some degree of money or support from abroad. So basically, it means it covers everybody, and it gives the government the tools to be able to intimidate organisations that, you know, may not be politically partisan, but will still be monitoring things like human rights, the democratic conduct of elections, and so forth.
Could there be European consequences going forward? Because we know that European countries, some of them at least, have urged or been urging Georgia to stop this process.
Oh, well, of course. I mean, that's why so many people out in the streets. It goes far beyond just this one law. For Georgians, it's been a sort of a national aim to get out of the orbit of authoritarian Russia led by Vladimir Putin and towards the European Union, which is a symbol of democracy and freedom for most people in Georgia. Sort of the poll suggests between 80 and 90% of people support EU membership. So it's one of the most pro-EU countries in the world. So this law, EU officials have said, is incompatible with EU membership. So basically, this is the Georgian government saying no to that, in direct contravention of the mandate on which this government was elected in 2020, when it promised to bring Georgia closer to the European Union.
So what do you think then this means for EU membership?
Well, I mean, if this law passes, then it doesn't go any further. But the Georgian people don't look like they're going to take that fact lying down. I mean, Georgia has fought for over 3 decades to join the European Union. It's not going to let one law and one government get in the way of that. The other day, about a third of the entire population of the capital city, Tbilisi, was out on the streets. People, about 300,000 people. You know, this is a city of 1 million people. So, you know, the opposition to this law is immense. It's huge. So, I mean, the elections are coming in October. It's very hard to see how this government wins the election in October with this kind of law in place.
But what is it that the protesters, look, you were mentioning, I mean, they've been out for months, and we're looking at the pictures right now, the latest pictures from Tbilisi. Protesters still out. They're clearly trying to put pressure on the government, but it doesn't seem like it's working at all.
Well, historically, it has worked. I mean, last year, this law was proposed for the first time, and mass protests put a stop to it. This time, the government seems more determined, and no one can really work out why. I mean, most people can guess that Russia has something to do with it, and that Russia has put pressure on the Georgian government to pass this come what may, which angers demonstrators further, because Russia is the colonial power here in Georgia. Georgians have spent 2 centuries fighting Russian influence. So it actually makes people more angry and more willing to come out into the streets to try and stop this. So yeah, it's a standoff at the moment. Neither side feels like they're going to be standing down. And the elections are coming in October. It looks like it's going to be a very difficult few months ahead.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you for speaking to us from Tbilisi.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.